It's Tom here, coming at you with another video. Today I'll be reviewing the movie Joe, which I think came out in 2014. It stars Nicolas Cage, who kind of has a reputation for making a lot of bad movies, but yeah, he is a good actor, Nick Cage. I still like Nick Cage. I don't watch most of the movies he makes because they look awful, but he is a talented guy, and if you're I know he's kind of a joke now, and there's like a whole internet meme about him and all the shit he makes. But he like if you've never seen a good Nicolas Cage movie, I would recommend Leaving Las Vegas, which is a great performance from him. He plays a like an alcoholic who's drinking himself to death. He's trying to commit suicide with alcohol, and it's it's pretty messed up and it's pretty heartbreaking. But he's good in that. He's really good in that, and he's also good in Adaptation, which I think that was a Charlie Kaufman movie. Or, I mean, the guy who wrote it was Charlie Kaufman. I don't know who directed it, but he plays twin brothers in that, and he gives each brother like a lot of personality. It feels like two different characters, and Adaptation's a great movie. I would recommend that along with Leaving Las Vegas. But those I shouldn't be talking about those movies. Today I'm going to be talking about Joe. And Nicolas Cage, he plays a guy named Joe. He's an ex-con. I think he's in his like 40s or 50s, maybe early 50s. And we kind of hear he spent some time in prison for, he got into a fight with some cops, and some cops were messing with him. But now he's kind of, he seems to be eking out a living as, he kills trees for a living. Is his job. He has like a crew, and they go out and they poison trees, and then I guess someone comes later and clears them off. But the main story, the movie's really about Joe and his relationship with this other character, this teenage kid who comes from an abusive home. It's kind of about their like the friendship slash father son relationship they forged together. Um, Gary's the kid's name from is the name of the kid he helps. Um, but Joe, he hires Gary because Gary's looking for work to support his family, and he hires Gary's father too, the abusive father, and and Joe, he's really struggling. He seems like he has a bit of a temper, and he's kind of portrayed as this really macho character, this kind of hyper guy that you don't want to piss off. And the movie's about him trying to constantly not be pissed off, even though life keeps shitting on him. The movie's really dark and violent. There's a lot of violence, and but there are some good scenes. There's some nice scenes between Joe and Gary. The kind of the friendship, the father-son relationship. You get to see that. It's pretty touching. Um, My notes are all messed up because the printer was running out of ink, so kind of hard to do this. But Nick Cage is good as Joe. I think he doesn't completely nail every part of the character. I think Nick Cage is good at nailing the pain that Joe's going through. You can really see he's really frustrated and suffering. But the thing is, Nick Cage, I don't quite buy him as this like total badass, this complete ass kicking guy. Because Joe, he's kind of in the movie, he's kind of portrayed, or they're trying to portray him as like almost like this really force of nature, this physical, this manly man. And I didn't quite buy that aspect, but I did think again that the pain, Cage was good at portraying that. The physicality. I don't think Nicolas Cage is that imposing a guy. You might want to. I was thinking of who they could, who could they cast to play Joe? Maybe like Tom Hardy, who played Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, because he's kind of known for playing. Well, he did a movie called Bronson also, where he played like this buff psychopath. It's like this charismatic murderer or something. I didn't see the movie, but I heard about it. I think I saw the trailer. Um, Yeah, it's just good. This movie, Joe. It's good to see Nick Cage in a good movie. This movie isn't great, but it's good enough. And again, it's better than Left Behind or those two awful Ghost Rider movies. On this movie has good bad guys. There's two good villains. Gary's father, Wade, is a drunk and he's abusive. He beats Gary and probably the other members of his family, and it's suggested that he's also molesting his daughter, which is Gary's sister. But he's a really evil guy, just despicable, and he's lazy. Like because Joe, when he hires Gary, he also hires Gary's father, Wade, and Wade does not want to work. And when people give him shit about not working, he just argues with them. So it doesn't, But Gary's a good kid. He works hard, and Joe sees that and recognizes that. And there's a scene where, I mean, this guy Wade, he not only is he lazy and abusive, he's a murderer. Because there's a scene where he sees another drunk, like another wino, just kind of wandering around with a bottle, and he follows him, and eventually he starts talking to him, and they strike up a conversation, and then Wade just picks up like a blunt instrument, just starts beating him to death, and then takes his bottle of alcohol and takes his wallet, and it's it's a pretty awful scene, pretty frightening. And that's only one of the bad guys. There's another bad guy. Well, I mean, there's two main guys, like Wade, and the other guy is named Willie Russell, and he's a very sleazy character. We don't know that much about it. He's kind of just like a local lowlife that has it out for Joe. He hates Joe and he wants to get revenge against Joe, and then he meets Gary. And I think Gary asks him for a ride, and Willie Russell asks Gary if he has a sister, and basically says he wants to sleep with his sister, and then Gary beats him up. Even though Gary's a teenager and Willie Russell's an older guy, Willie Russell just gets the shit beat out of him by Gary. So he hates Gary and he hates Joe. The two good guys. But yeah, Willie Russell. He's got like this scarred face. He's always talking about this. He was in this car accident, which is, I guess, how his face got messed up. But he's a really sleazy character, and watching the movie, because Joe is just constantly fuming, and you kind of want to see Joe's righteous anger just consume these two horrible people. They're really bad guys, and whether or not Joe unleashes hell on these two sleazebags, I don't. You have to watch the movie to find out. But yeah, two good bad guys. They really you love to hate them. They're just awful people. This movie was directed by David Gordon Green, who started his career making kind of like amateur dramas, independent dramas. I think it was either his first movie or one of his first movies was a movie called George Washington, which was about I think some kids in like a poor part of the South. I don't know, I did see it, but it was like a long time ago I saw it. And since then, he's done more like commercial movies. He did Pineapple Express and Your Highness. I've seen Pineapple Express, and I did like it. I haven't seen Your Highness. I probably won't get around to it. I was kind of curious, but I don't know. It's just there's better movies to watch. I don't think I need. Even though it has, but Natalie Portman as a a hot badass, and she's like in a bikini or something. That might tempt me, but no, I think there's better movies I could be watching. So even though it has partially naked Natalie Portman, I'll watch other movies. But yeah, David Gordon Green. And for me, he did not just George Washington. He did a couple other like indie dramas. When he did a movie called Undertow, which was about another movie set in the South with. It's about like the drama of this family. These two brothers, their uncle. I don't remember if he kills their father, but then he's after them because there's like buried treasure or buried gold or something. I don't know. It was a weird movie, but it wasn't bad, and I'm kind of glad to see David Gordon Green return to making movies like Joe, because I'm more interested in seeing movies like Joe than I am in seeing sequels to Pineapple Express or Your Highness, or I'd rather not. I like stoner. Do like some stoner movies, but it's good to see him return to making better quality films. Yeah, and let's see. Yeah, it's funny. Writing a review for this movie, I had some fun mentioning some of the shitty movies that Nicolas Cage has been in, and to end the review, I thought I'd just mention them to the camera. Some of the movies Nicolas Cage has made: Face Off, Wind Talkers, Next, Season of the Witch, Drive Angry, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, and maybe my favorite, the remake of The Wicker Man, which was kind of infamous for a scene where Nicolas Cage is being like tortured with bees. Just do a search on YouTube with like Nick Cage Wicker Man bees, and you'll probably see what I'm talking about. I don't remember. I think the scene was cut from the movie, but you can find it online. It's pretty funny. Nicolas Cage screaming about not the bees, not the bees. And then when I was looking up all of his awful movies he's been making, I found out they're making a National Treasure 3. And it's like, holy shit, who's watching these movies? I don't. Who's excited about National Treasure 3? I haven't seen. Well, I haven't watched the National Treasure movies. I did see part of one on cable, I think, one time, but it looks stupid. I don't know. But yeah, Joe. Joe's a good movie. It's worth seeing. If it doesn't sound particularly interesting to you, you don't have to watch it. It's not a must-see movie or anything. But it sounded interesting. I would check it out, and it's good to see Nicolas Cage in a good movie and not something that isn't terrible. So, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.